I commend each and every youngster that clicked on this video. It shows your dedication and commitment to improving your own life. The first thing I'll have to say to you today is, what is improvement? Majority of you just say, I want to be better, but what is being better? As best, if I ask you to define improvement, you will say you want to be better or you do not like where you are currently. So before I define a thing, I believe the definition of anything is just a set of behaviors ascribed to a term. If you say someone is confident, for instance, that's just a bundled term of underlying characters. For instance, he might speak more forcefully, he might speak in a more convictional manner, he might not give a shit about other people, not in a negative way. So improvement, going through this rule of thumb, would be, it becomes subjective for improvement. The question now becomes, what is he improving? Because improvement means incremental gains on something. So when most people talk about improvement, I believe they are referring to this aspect of life, which is your health, your relationship, and your spirituality. Notice how I didn't mention finances, which is a very significant component. We'll talk about that in a second. So the focus of today would be your health. Your health can be compartmentalized into various aspects like mental health, physical health. Let's take mental health because your mentality is directly linked to your finances. I'm going to tell you how that works. Imagine, for instance, you're with a car, you're driving this car and you hit a ditch due to the level of your incompetence. Regardless of what car they give you, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a Ford Mustang, you would always reproduce that same result. You see now that the problem is not the car, the problem is the driver. That driver is your mindset. Another example would be, I'm sure most of you are into aerodynamics and are studying aviation. So there's something called the law of cybernetics in the principle of aviation. It states that a plane cannot deviate uh, within, cannot deviate from its trajectory up onto a point. So if say a plane is going straight, its trajectory is like this, and it begins to deviate, there's a point to which it cannot deviate beyond. The law of cybernetics will kick in and align it back to that trajectory. That's how your mind works. Some of you would notice when you begin something new, say you watch all these motivational speakers and you begin a new thing, you're pumped up, you're fired up, you write out the list of things you begin to do in order to make a difference in your own life. As soon as you hit the first tag, the second tag, you become excited, you stop what you're doing, you go on walks, you start cleaning your apartment. Even the subtlest tasks like washing that dish you never use becomes alluring. All of that is trying to bring you back to, all of that is trying to bring you to a trajectory. You are deviating beyond the initial script. So when you shift, when you make that first, second task attempt in order to change, the law of cybernetics kicks in and it aligns you back to your trajectory. The first thing you have to do in order to overcome all of this is to read. So when you start reading, it makes you smarter. Making you smarter is the first step you take. It's like the settings would say, reading is like having a conversation with the finest of men of the past centuries. So you don't need to get kicked in the guts, you don't need to go through that same experience as someone else. Like 5 hours of your time to learn 30 years of someone else's experience, I believe that's a good bargain. Also, making the same mistake as someone else means you are the one who's twice as unwise. It's like watching a man fall into a pit and you fall into that same pit and take years for you to go out and repeat that same mistake. You're the dumb one. So you've taken this first step, you're beginning to see changes. But what you notice is your belief system starts to conflict with others around you, because from the mindset analogy, you see now that we attract who we are. So the kind of people we have in our own life are a reflection of our thinking. So, which leads us to the second thing, which is do not care about what people tell you, don't care about other people's opinion about you. So when your belief systems are conflicting with your old belief system, you come to a point where you no longer fit into your old set of friends, but you have not developed enough to acquire your new set of friends. So your trust in the middle is what Alex Hormozy defines as the lonely chapter. So you are in this lonely chapter. You have one of two choices. Either you keep going and remain alone, or you go back to your former belief system. But you know the truth that every single time you say that stupid word just to get into a party or those secret codes, you feel an internal conflict. So there are one of two things you can do. Either you gain external conflict for internal peace, or you trade internal peace for external, or you trade internal peace for external acceptance, internal conflict for external acceptance. So they are still the same thing, just rephrasing it to match the former equivalent. So learn to be on your own. When your belief system begins to contrast with them, do not conform because it's perfect. Like the law of aviation, it will try, that former belief system will try to bring you back to that trajectory. It's only in your own choice. It's only you that have the will to deviate and set a new trajectory where everything begins to happen by default. But one thing is certain, your paradigm will test whether you've made this change. Your paradigm will come to probe whether you have conviction in this new mindset that you've attained. So, my friends, even me, for instance, even I sitting here telling you all of this, I remember when I started, there was so many confliction with my former friends, etc. Don't want to go into that backstory, but I believe if you implement these two keys, you begin to see changes now, immediately. As always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you next one.